Hi, I'm Laurie Dobson, and today is February 15th, 2021, on the island of Great Cranberry. I was just responding to somebody today who was giving me some nice feedback, and I said, yep, thank you. I'm just trying to make some inroads. And the word struck me, inroads. What is that? It's when you try to get into a dense area, right? You try to make some headway, some progress. You try to, around on an island, you do it a lot in maritime terms or marine terms. You try to weather the storm or get through. We have a lot of things that come up. A lot of situations, and we have to scramble and make changes and switch things around to accommodate. You gotta get off the island for something and it doesn't work out. You gotta change your plan. Everybody's changing their plans these days. It's not just, in an island, it's everybody, because things have been flipping. Things that we wouldn't have expected to be quite so tumultuous, but now everything is, because the game was changed last year. It's more than the game. They decided to take us down and figure out how to do that in the most effective way. So who are they? I just believe the moneyed interests who have time and money to burn, and they're just looking for something to do, some way to keep busy and interested in life, and they've got all the the financial ability to do it. So you can make a lot of change when you run half the wealth of the nation, which 3 billionaires do currently. You can make a lot of change through your people, through your spin-off country, companies and investments and interests. So you can game the system. So like with Robin Hood, and the way that was blocked. The guy, the head of Robin Hood, took his company down to appease whoever, because the little guy was making inroads in the betting world, so that it wasn't just purely an insider's game. Insider games are obnoxious to a lot of people. And when you're in them, you think, oh, this is great. Everybody loves me. I'm so happy and accepted. Well, yeah, in your group, in your little circle of people. And in a lockdown, your little pod or your little group of comfort, your comfort zone, your comfort people are happy there. And, people are human. We're all human. We all need social content, a social life of some sort, because it is, as we all know, the statistics say, nothing is as bad for you as isolation. That's why we reserve it for our worst criminals. And Julian Assange, poor guy. Anyway, we really have some major problems to address in our country. So anyway, so what I was saying about making inroads and why this is a topic for today, and tables turning and the tide turning, and the reason I'm talking about this is because I think it's really important for our island to understand what's in our interest. Peace? Happiness? Or are we going to keep, kicking a dead horse, like Van Morrison's song, Stand and Deliver, which Eric Clapton has done. Stand and deliver, they're going to put those things on you. So you should hear that song and his other 3 songs about things. Van Morrison. There are people out there. It's hard to hear anything. It's not part of the in club, the in group. The reason we have to make inroads all the time is because it keeps getting blocked off from regular people's access. The public versus private thing. More and more and more is privatized. Prisons are privatized. How is that in our interest? The Federal Reserve was privatized. How is that in our interest? The people that are spending the money that the American people raise, the American people earn, is gamed. They have all the games. They can play with the money that we earn, the money that's made in this country. And the rules can apply to certain privileged few. And it's legal to game money that belongs to the public with a private organization called the Federal Reserve, run by the central banks. Now, who are they? Oh, yeah, those are the guys that are empowered to be protected in case there's any fallout and get bailed out on a regular basis. They now have a main line into the vein of our country. They want money, they just go and print more. No more asking for money. Bernie's position is now, he's a puppet, in the budget committee, because it's already decided. He's just going to go along to get along and play along with the system and pretend to be virtuous. Bernie's whole thing is being, Mr. Virtuous while he lets things happen. He lets things happen. He's going to let that woman, Neera Tanden, who's a foul-mouthed woman and a horrific woman and against everything that Bernie and the social progressives stood for, go down the tubes. And he's going to allow her to, he's excoriated her, but now he's spanked her. She's going to be put in. That's the kind of thing that's hard to watch. The system just keeps going that way. But there are inroads, and we have to recognize one little inroad into, with GameStop, by Wall Street Reddits, into the stock market with the hedge funds taking a dive. Well, that may change the system now so that can't happen anymore. That's too bad. But we can keep fighting on these things. If enough people get it figured out that like George Carlin said, they don't give a fuck about you. You've got to see more George Carlin. Wake up. The best pill to wake up. Daily George Carlin. Because we want to believe that they don't have our best interests, that they do have our best interests at heart. We don't want to believe that they're as bad as they are. And another really good voice out there to listen to is Jordan Peterson, who isn't fooled for a minute. Canadians tend to see things from a perspective, but he's also brilliant, and he has gone through some hell in his own life, come out the other end, and he's still out there trying to make people's lives better. He's a man worth listening to. He's got a lot to say about how to survive, how to be mature. It's not, it's like a Joe Rogan kind of thing. It's not necessarily, your wheelhouse. You're not going to hear things there that are necessarily comfortable to hear, because he's got a different perspective. But he's making inroads in those areas where we need to get in and make things more fair, more public, more for all of us, and not for the few. And if you're one of those people who thinks it's okay not to change anything, nothing substantial will change, right, under Biden, well, things are going to change, like it or not, because the wheels were set in motion to do this great reset, build back better thing. Yeah, build back better so you can keep gaming the system and making money off it. Well, you can't now, okay? Something fundamental is changing. People just show that they are capable of making it better for others. And these are people who've had a lot of economic deprivation because of the 2008 crash. That was unconscionable. Nobody went to jail. Nobody paid. Apparently nobody's going to go to jail over this Robinhood / GameStop scandal, the hedge fund scandal. For blocking the ability to continue to use the system to make it more fair. They've blocked the system so it is going to continue to be unfair. Well, that's a nice try, and the people with money will keep trying, and they certainly have an advantage. The reason the governments even got started in the first place was because people needed life to be more fair for everyone, for the most vulnerable, not the least vulnerable. In our country now, it's the exact opposite. The most vulnerable have all the advantages, and the least vulnerable are scrambling just to try to survive now. It is as bad as it could be, and there's nobody in power that's saying so, that's going to change things. It's going to say anything to make your life better. Everything they say is carefully couched to make sure it doesn't offend anybody. And I love that Ron DeSantis is sticking it to the guys that are, out there pumping the lockdown, which is nothing more than gaming the system. It's gaming the country. If you think about how GameStop, that those guys tried to make it more fair. Instead of allowing the hedge funds to short it, cripple it, and kill it, they came in and infused it with cash and support and love, right? That's love for a company they felt very, connected to, and others, not just GameStop. Yeah. So my point is, making inroads, we can all do that. And since there are so many people, and we are kind of in a lockdown, I hate that word, but we're in a more restricted zone where our freedoms aren't as clear as they need to be. We have a job to do. And like Jordan Peterson said in his one of his recent videos that I posted on my Facebook page, our job is to continue to make progress And by doing, but and how to do that is to look to our highest, most elevated view of what we are trying to accomplish in our lives, and to be faithful to that every day, and to make the changes, and to be devoted to living a life that's towards that goal of our self-improvement, self-perfection, making us make clearer, better choices for others, and not just for our own zones of comfort, our own ability to make life easy, for ourselves. And anytime you do an act on behalf of others, you feel better. I mean, when I went over the weekend, spent 10 hours making cupcakes and delivering them with another lady from the Ladies' Aid, we made, and her daughter, we made all these cupcakes for people just to cheer them up. I mean, it was a wonderful thing. It really turned around a lot of people's, brought a lot of smiles to people at the door who weren't expecting a gift, out of the blue like that. It was great. And they were pretty cute little cupcakes, and they tasted good too. So, and they were made from scratch. So I'm going to continue to go, yay. That was an inroad into some, hopefully to some minds that have been sort of perversely focused on the fear of those that are there are the year-rounders here on the island that are showing movies that are controversial. Oh no, oh my God, controversy. How can we have controversy? We have to all agree. We have a trustees meetings and Zooms and everything, and there's going to be a letter, and there's going to be all this. We're going to make sure that everybody knows that it's okay now. It's okay now. We're not going to let those little, fly-by-nights that try to make the system feel better to us, some of us, by showing different points of view that aren't just the prevailing opinion, the little comfort zones. Our island is well endowed. I'm going to start saying some things here, so you can turn it off now if you don't want to hear. But coming out here, I said, wow, this is Rockefeller Land. My father always used to say, oh, you're spending like a Rockefeller. Well, it's really, it was actually a slap in the face from my dad. He didn't realize just how nefarious the Rockefellers have been all through history, trying to make sure that we have ways to draw down our population, aka killing people. When they stopped the homeopathy movement, which was the most prevalent method of medicine in our country in the 1800s, and focused it on surgeries and medicine run by private institutions, and universities that were going to devote themselves to making money off of medicine in their ways, and they continue to. That is a great bane on our society. Rockefeller money to this day. And there's section 10, 1030, or I can't remember the number, but you look into some of their recent plans, the Rockefeller Institutes. We think they're lovely, they're wonderful. They have land here at Acadia, they have land they have land all over the place around here, in this little neck of the woods, Mount Desert Island. And they, down when I was down in the Virgin Islands, down at St. John, the Virgin Islands National Park, all that was started by Rockefellers, and it's beautiful. I want to live in that area. I want to live up here, because they do know North Haven, they have some land there everywhere that's really pretty. It's been secured for so-called, the so-called public, although there are areas you can't get to as the public. That's a little known fact. That is public land, supposedly, but is not accessible to the public. Private easements and whatnot, and conservation areas. It is a fancy way to try to keep the best for those who have the most. And back to our island, that's the same kind of way. The best land, Rice Point, and some of those other areas are closed off to public walking, viewing. We're lucky we have a road on our island, at least, where you can see glimpses of the shore on the other side. I used to live in the Greenwich, Connecticut area, and everybody had a 6-foot-high stone wall. Any views of the water were closed off, boards, like you'll see in Northeast, when you go along the road there, a lot of that view is blocked off. I started an environmental organization trying to help people be more sociable together and have their views open for others, have a fairness principle in play. So I'm talking a lot here about public good, making inroads into areas that have been formerly private. And a lot of people just say, okay, wait a minute, that's not our deal. We have a lot of money. We can do what we want to. We can have it our way and get away with it. And, sucks to be you, right? Well, the tax base in this country in Eisenhower's era was like, 40%? It was a huge tax base of money coming back from wealthy people who were able to game the system their way with their abilities. The laws have been changing steadily to make it even more gamed by the wealthy. More tax cuts for the wealthy, more, fewer and fewer people paying anything in their taxes, billionaires like Trump, excuse me, and others just being able to just have an ungodly advantage over everyone else. And now to continue this kind of mentality where there's lockdowns, where you have more rules on people who don't have what you have. I'm here to tell you, it is not a picnic to live on an island where, you come in and there's no other real way to make a living on an island like this except serving the wealthy classes here, serving those that have the millionaire homes. And if I wasn't somewhat financially able to survive not having jobs that have helped me, get by here because that's the only kind available, I'd have to be quiet. I wouldn't dare to say anything critical, but it needs to be said. People need to be able to have a voice. And it can't just be one voice like me, or to anybody that has any independence at all or can try to make the system fairer for others should be speaking up on that subject, because we are in an era where if we don't speak up, we're going to be just herded into these cattle culling pens, these holding pens. What do you think happens after that? We know what happens after that. We've seen camps. We've had them in our own country. We've got private camps even now. You don't know about them. They're these detention camps. They're set up. They're prepared. They're prepared to take people down that aren't part of the system, that won't go with this new system. And it's firmly in place. Biden is firmly in place as the corporate president. He's going to just keep this going until we fight it. Whoever thought we had to fight our own government, the one that we started, the one we have such faith in, but we can't afford to have faith in this government anymore. It is not serving our interests. For all his faults, and there are enough to write in encyclopedia. Okay, I'm the first to say it. But Trump, I believe he was the last constitutional president that we have had. And if we don't, and if we want to keep it that way, we don't want to get anybody back that pays any respect at all to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, then we'd better pay attention to what Biden's rolling out without even showing up to do it, without any fanfare, just doing it, just like a tyrant, just like a dictator. Oh, here's the latest thing I'm going to do today to take away your rights, to take away your life, to take away your abilities to survive and to make the most for your family. And it comes from the Obama administration, too. Look at that. Okay, 2008, when all these people started realizing that the system wasn't there for their interests, what did Obama do? He appointed Timothy Geithner, who was the former head of the New York Stock Exchange, to be in charge of our recovery, our economic recovery. And all those other guys just never took anybody down because they were too big to fail, remember? So we never slapped any hands. We never did anything to rein that in. So we have the criminals still in power, and now Biden's bringing them back. We have Colin Powell coming out of the woodwork, who was the one who convinced us that we could go to Iraq with any moral legitimacy. He made that case. He started that ball rolling. But people just think he's the bee's knees because he said some things against the Republicans. So he's got a big pass, right? Like Susan Collins is such a great person because she voted against Donald Trump. Susan Collins never met a corrupt, a money-making scheme that she didn't like. It's just she has a way to sell it to Mainers. And, we have blindly in this state looked at her as being so thankful that we appreciated her and she's there for the common people. Well, she'll do the work. She'll have these staged places, places of opportunity. But I was at an EMT dinner at the Samoset when people were, talking. She was a special guest star. She didn't bother to show up. She had a little blurb of her on the screen saying that she was there in support. But I don't believe it. I ran against her. I don't believe that she's there for people. And you got to make inroads on these people that are, these are representatives. And I think it's time to really put the screws to the wall on the people that have secure positions, that they think nothing can happen, nothing can affect them. They've tried to game the system so you can't change their ability to keep themselves in power, but it can be done. It is hard. I saw the corruption firsthand, running for office and doing all kinds of things in the political realm, and I know it's a hard place to make any changes, but it's not going to get any better if we don't start, and we don't start now. And speaking up is your best method. Speaking up is essential right now, you guys. You can't be silent, okay? I'm not being silent, but I could use some help here. All right, take care and think about it, okay? All right, have a good day. Bye.